Okay, everybody, you got head coach Brad Brownell.
Well, hope everybody had a good Christmas. It's nice to get back with our guys, and first off, just to know that we got to send them home for a couple days and give them a chance to be with their families. I think that was really important. And also, it's been great to come back, and we've been very good in terms of no positive tests. So we've been able to practice here a couple days, and got a big game against Florida State tomorrow. Extremely talented team, long, athletic, used to winning, and just the same style of play that has really served them well the last several years. You see it again in this team. They defend, really get to the basket, get fouled a lot, create turnovers with their defense, and obviously with Scottie Barnes, you have a unique player, a 6'9" guy who plays the point. So that certainly is a different situation. You don't see that almost anywhere else in college basketball. So a lot of challenges, but I think our guys are excited and looking forward to getting back out on the court to play. Questions?
Hey, Coach, it's David Hood. It seems like Leonard Hamilton, the players change, but they kind of look the same every year now. They're, long and athletic and play fast. Just your thoughts on kind of watching them.
I think that's good. A good summary. That's, they recruit that. They don't really recruit small guards. They switch. They've gone to switching 5 ways the last couple of years. So they want to be able to switch with 5 men and really be disruptive and almost take you out of a lot of the offensive things that people run, and make you make more individual plays. And so, obviously the philosophy all goes together in terms of recruiting, to philosophy of how they play defense. They probably have simplified things over the years offensively, but they play at a great pace. They have very good spacing, and then they have very good players. And so their players don't need as much help. And, they do what they do very well with pick and roll and attacking closeouts and shooting balls in. So, yeah, it's really smart, I think, the way they do things. And that's why they've had a lot of success here, especially the last 4 or 5 years. They've become, one of the top programs in our league and really nationally.
Now that you've had, these games under your belt, we're getting ready to head into the new year. Do you feel like now you have a sense of your rotations and what your lineup needs to be at each situation, and kind of where guys go and fit?
We have a better idea. We're not going to make the right decisions on all those things all the time. Guys still have to earn playing time. It's not going to be given to them, but we are, at the same time, we do want to play a lot of players, so if guys are working hard in practice and attentive, have good attitudes, we're going to play 10 or 11 guys, maybe even 12, as we have in certain games, a good amount of time. And, that goes with stylistically how we're playing, in terms of being a little more aggressive in our full court defense and pressuring people a little bit more, and trying to get our team to run and be a little bit better in the transition offensive game. You have to be fresh to do that. And so, yeah, we're trying to do that. But at the same time, you're going to have different lineups with that occasionally. But I do feel like, obviously, we've learned some things here about our team in the last, 7 games or whatnot. And, we'll have to make adjustments along the way.
Hey, Brad, this is Larry Williams.
Sure.
Chase Hunter, I know you said going in, you're going to have to be patient with him as he sort of found his way back. What's your assessment of him right now?
He hasn't played as well as any of us would like yet. I do feel like he's practicing better the last 2 weeks. So I think it's going to translate to games at some point here. When is that? What is that? I just, He hasn't shot the ball very well. He's a better shooter and scorer than what he's shown. We're trying to continue to give him confidence. He's one of those guys, he probably needs a game or two where he sees the ball go in on a consistent basis just to kind of help him. I do think it took a while just with everything that he's been through. I remind everybody he was out a good bit this summer. Still just us being cautious with his foot. And then obviously when he did come back, shortly thereafter broke the finger. And so it's taken him a while, and we kind of knew it would. And it's not just some of it conditioning, some of it just being a young player that needs reps. But we have seen some things in games. He shows some things that he can do that other guys on our team can't. He does have some individual skill and some athleticism that is at another level. We just got to get his confidence going in the right direction. And he's got to challenge himself to continue to play hard every possession and to focus on the right things and not let a missed shot or a turnover, put him in a bad place mentally. And I think that's part of being a younger guy. Guys are just wired different. Alamir Dawes is really not bothered by many things and, is supremely confident, and that helps him. Occasionally, though, that hurts him because he thinks he can make plays that aren't good plays, and it causes him to make turnovers. Chase is a little more, of a guy that probably goes up and down with his confidence a little bit, and but I think he's got very high level talent and just needs a couple good games to kind of get himself going. But do think he's practiced much better here recently and expect him to play well soon.
Hey, Brad, this is Mark Whiteman from WIFF. The numbers bear out that you guys have been obviously one of the best defensive teams in the country to this point. What has pleased you about your defensive identity, and what's the next level? Is there even a next gear that you guys can ratchet it up to in the weeks ahead?
I think certainly just our numbers are, really good. Field goal percentage, defense, creating turnovers, just I think being difficult to play against. Obviously, points per game for our opponent are all really good. I think we have to continue to do a good job rebounding. That's probably an area of concern a little bit at times. We're not a real big team, and so rebounding is challenging for us. We've got to really put bodies on people. And sometimes when you get spread out a little bit defensively, it can affect your rebounding occasionally if guys aren't quite as hunkered down back in there protecting the paint. You can be a little further out, you can get extended. And so we've just got to keep harping on that with our guys. Our guards have to do a good job of rebounding, for us, especially when teams shoot a lot of threes. A lot of times those are long rebounds, and your perimeter players need to get back and get involved in the rebounding. That's probably an area that we need to improve.
Not to dismiss any of the other opponents that you guys have played to this point, but does Florida State kind of stand out as the ultimate challenge of where you guys are at defensively so far to this point in the year?
Well, yeah, they present a lot of problems. They have very talented players. Scottie Barnes, MJ Walker, Anthony Polite, are all guys capable of scoring 20. The big kid inside is averaging 10 points a game, Balsa, in 18 or 19 minutes a game. So if he was on most teams playing 28 minutes, he'd be a 15-point a game guy, 7 feet tall with good hands. So they've got really good players that fit their system and play with great pace. And so, yes, there's some challenges that they're going to present that, are difficult. But we've played some other teams that have been good. Alabama's a talented offensive team. Virginia Tech can score the ball. But these guys are certainly as athletic and as good individually and play with great pace. So it's a heck of a challenge.
Hey, Brad, it's Phil Kornblut. I know it's always maybe a little bit difficult for Clemson basketball this time of the year with so much going on around football to kind of find your traction and get your attention, people to notice that you're doing something.
Right.
Is it any more difficult this time because A, you've got the football going on, B, campus is deserted, C, you've got the COVID going on, and I guess D, you got no fans in the stands.
Well, yeah, I like to say that I tell people Dabo is very selfish that way. He likes to play all the way into middle of January, and a lot of teams are done by Thanksgiving. So he's very selfish that way. That's it just goes with the territory. There's a lot of people that are dealing with all the things you mentioned, COVID and not having as many folks in the arena. And so, yeah, you've got to be intrinsically motivated as a player. And that's not easy all the time because you don't feel good all the time. You're beat up. I think sometimes, the fact that we play 2 and 3 games a week at times, it's more challenging for players to be up, be ready to go, feel good all the time. And I think that's where the lack of crowds you're not going to go into the crowd and get any extra motivation. You got to kind of create it your own motivation and your own energy and juice. And we obviously have talked about that a lot with our players. So it's a little more challenging this year, certainly, no question, just because of everything that everybody's dealing with.
Brad, it's Larry again. I apologize if you've addressed this recently, but is there any talk with South Carolina about rescheduling?
Not a lot right now. We had some initial conversations, but it doesn't look good. We just have a lot going on in our schedule and theirs, and they've had a little more COVID. So it doesn't look good, no.
Any more questions for Coach?
Brad, you've kind of been one of the more nuanced coaches that I've heard in terms of understanding kind of the risk that goes into the season, but also stating how much this is meant to the players and being on the floor. I was just curious what your thoughts were seeing the news out of Florida and Keyonte Johnson having dealt with myocarditis, which of course you don't know if it was due to him being diagnosed with COVID earlier in the year. And if that was a conversation that you'd had with any of your players after kind of seeing the scary images out of actually the game was in Tallahassee.
Well, the first thing is I think it's difficult for me to comment on that situation because I really don't know enough about what's going on, on the inside. And so I don't want to speak, too specifically to that. Obviously I feel, terrible for the young man and wish Florida and all those folks the best and him the best in recovery. But just in terms of my own team and dealing with it, I think it's a situation where you are keeping a pulse with your players and with your team on how they're doing. Not just physically, but mentally, how you doing? Where are you? If our guys ever got in a situation where we, didn't feel like it was right to play, then we wouldn't play. That's, and I think players have that right. And we've talked about it way back when that players could opt out individually if they wanted. The same is still true. Who knows what's going to happen if somebody in our program gets COVID and what that means, whether that person will come back, won't, do we quit playing? What happened? I don't know. We've been fortunate. We haven't had to deal with that. That was a bad sign right there, I'm afraid. Lights going on and everything. But anyway, I guess, so, but I think having a pulse on your players, and I do a lot of talks. I talk to my guys a lot individually. I get with them one-on-one or in small groups and, more than just we all sit down there as a team and talk it out. We'll do that occasionally, but I think guys are more apt to talk to you about how they really feel and how they're doing when you get with them, in a small setting. And so I feel like I've been doing as much or more of that than I ever have as a coach. And part of that was the idea behind, hey, they need to go home for Christmas. Our guys needed a break. They needed to go home. They needed to have time with family. They needed to get away from basketball. They needed to get away from Clemson. They needed to just get home, get a different setting for a few days and just kind of, spend time with their families and recharge. And, how we bounce back from that, we're going to see. It's interesting. Every time you kind of take a small pause, even for Christmas, you're you got to get the battery charged back up and get ready to compete at a high level. And that's not always easy to do, but we seem to be good the last couple of days getting back to practice. And, you know, I'm excited to see how we perform in our next game.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach Trevor Groves from CUTackers.com. Apologize I'm joining late if you've been asked this, but freshman Scottie Barnes for Florida State, such a talent. How much of a challenge is he at 6'9" to guard on the perimeter?
He really is, because he's a unique player. You know, we don't have anybody over here that we can put on the scout team to like practice against like that. And I don't know that you really know what you're dealing with until you're dealing with him. And that's probably a little bit scary. But yeah, 6'9", handles the ball like a guard. You know, the one thing that you notice is, you know, in one dribble, he can cover 20, 25 feet. When he gets moving, it's, you know, he's at the rim instantly. And so, and then defensively, as much of a challenge, just being able to see, you know, to see around him, to pass around him, to deal with him. So, you know, it's really, he's a unique talent. Obviously, it's why he's, you know, projected lottery guy. I'm sure his value is way more than his numbers, and his numbers are good, but his value is way more than that because of all the things that you have to deal with within a game, just with his size, length, athleticism, and he's a smart, competitive guy. So, yeah, he presents a lot of unique challenges in the game for sure.
Coach, have you reevaluated Hunter Tyson and have any idea if he'll be able to play tomorrow night?
Yeah, he won't play tomorrow night. He's still in the process of, you know, meeting with doctors and, you know, eventually he's going to get, I think he got fitted for a mask. I don't think we have the mask yet. And so I don't know when that's going to be here, and still no definitive timetable. I would anticipate it's at least another week or two, I'm guessing, but I really haven't sat down specifically with him and the doctors to get an exact day. I know we were kind of waiting when we got back and went through some things. So, you know, we're still waiting to see here a little bit.
Any more questions for Coach? Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.